All right, so this is going to be another comic review. Even I'm shocked at how fast I read through this. And that is Phoenix, Orbital Resonance. This was another book sent to me by my friend Chris. Thank you as always, brother. And yeah, I wasn't expecting to finish this book as fast as I was, but here we are. And I am going to be honest with you right out the gate. This might be my favorite so far. Now, I haven't read all the X titles Chris sent me, but so far, of the three, this is kind of leading the pack as my favorite. This comic was written by Stephanie Phillips with Alessandro Marcolo on art. Stephanie Phillips being the writer, of course. And yeah, so this is a Jean Grey ongoing series that is more of a cosmic side of the X-Men Up from Ashes storyline. Now, to call back to Fall of X, what happened was Jean reconnected with the Phoenix, and, she basically realized, hey, I need to fix some things, so I'm going to go out into space, but if you ever need me, just think. So Jean is out in space protecting the galaxy in a one-woman war to fight the evils of the galaxy. This comic is basically Jean, I feel like Phillips, the core of it was Phillips just kind of leaned back in her chair and went, I want Jean Grey to throw hands with literally every cosmic villain I can think of. That's literally what I think it was. I think that was the whole thought process behind that comic, because that's basically what it is. And that's not a knock at the story, because there is kind of a few underlying threads along with it, which I'll get into. But the core of it is basically, I just think Stephanie Phillips just wanted to be a Dragon Ball Z writer, and this is the closest she'll ever get. Anyway, so the comic is following two stories. The first being Jean in her cosmic adventures to protect the cosmos. And remember, the galaxy, it may have been a while, but the galaxy remembered what she did as the Dark Phoenix. She destroyed several planets. She almost brought the Shi'ar Empire to the ground. Yeah, so they're very aware that, Jean is, Jean's dangerous. So the galaxy's terrified of her, and Jean is doing her best as the Phoenix to, show that she can be better. On top of that, you have another side story of our narrator, which is Adani. Adani is a young girl who's, due to Jean's actions, lost everything and now blames Jean for it and goes on a Kratos-esque revenge story to kill her, to kill Jean. What I like about this comic is that, again, we follow we follow Jean, who is, obviously, hurt from everything. She's still feeling the loss of Krakoa. She does feel alone, even though she is psychically linked to Scott. And on top of that, she's also, everywhere she goes, it's thrown in the face that, the galaxy fears her. They fear the Phoenix, and they are genuinely terrified of her. So they are well aware that, Jean's well aware that she's not, she's not welcome, but she's doing everything in her power. On top of that, with Adani on the other side, Adani's story is interesting because we have an overarching villain for Jean in this story that you would not expect. His name is Pyrrhus. He's a D-list Thor villain who was a lower-level god who escaped a orbital prison from a black hole that Jean was trying to save. Not the black hole, the prison. And essentially, Pyrrhus went to Donnie's homeworld, killed her father, and took over the church he was a part of, and basically wants to make Adani his weapon. It's kind of cool that Phillips is rather than making a new villain for Jean, she instead goes, you know what? I'm gonna make her arch enemy the one guy you would never expect. And I kind of like that. We're basically giving Jean an arch rival that was started out as a different Marvel character. It's very reminiscent of how Sabretooth used to be an Iron Fist villain, but then became Wolverine's villain, or we've had several times of this in Marvel comics where a villain shows up in a different comic and then becomes someone else's enemy, arch enemy. And again, Spider-Man with Kingpin, and then now he's Daredevil's arch enemy. So yeah, we've had that before. So to have this Pyrrhus guy, again, a D-list Thor villain, as our, main antagonist of the story, or one of them, we'll get to the other one in a second, is kind of cool. Like it's cool that Jean's getting her own her own archenemy. Pyrrhus, I hope I'm saying that name right, is he's basically trying to ascend to godhood in his own way. And meanwhile, Jean, on top of this, is going on adventures. She meets her father-in-law, Corsair, who he doesn't have the Starjammers anymore. And I love the adventure he and Jean go on. We also have Nova show up, Carol shows up, and apparently in the second story arc, where Jean is basically apparently in the next story arc, she's basically building a new Guardians of the Galaxy team, which I'm really excited for. I'm curious to see how that'll play out, of what because it feels like we already know what the three of those characters are that are going to be part of that team, which are Corsair, Nova, Richard Rider Nova to be clear, and Carol Danvers. I think someone said Rocket Raccoon's also part of this Guardians of the Galaxy team, which makes sense because if you're going to make a Guardians team, you got to have at least Rocket on the team. Anyway, so the comic is it's also some beautiful artwork here. I feel like I've seen this artwork before from Alessandro. Yeah, like what's a good image to really use here? There we go. It's like shit like that. It's very beautiful. It's very bright and vibrant. And again, I think you need that for a cosmic based story. I really do feel like, Alessandro's, you need someone who can illustrate these beautiful cosmic moments. And this is very much a cosmic story. Like, you have Jean encountering Eternity, which, by the way, Eternity's got a new look that apparently he got in Gods. I'm not reading Gods. So, yeah, all the big cosmic beings like the In-Betweener and Entity and Eternity and other cosmic beings, yeah, I guess they all got updates, which I do not hate. Now, the other thing that goes on in this comic is there's a third plot line, not just with, Jean trying to find redemption or a Donnie's revenge story. On top of that, there's another thing with Jean, is that she's afraid of what she is. Like, she's afraid of this godhood that she has and doesn't want to admit that she's the most powerful being in the universe. And even Eternity says, yeah, it's time for you to ascend to beyond godhood. Like, he's basically saying, unlock Ultra Instinct already. But Jean is afraid of losing, her humanity if she becomes Jean Grey. I mean, if she leaves... there's a great moment where she's, talking to Eternity, and she's like, I don't want to lose Jean Grey. And it's a great moment, because he's like, and Eternity goes, Jean Grey was always there. Like, the idea of her has always been there. Like, he's talking to both Phoenix and her, and he's like, you two have been, connected in, and the idea changes and shifts, but she's always there. So I'm very excited to see where this goes in this next story arc. Now we come to the fun part, the fucking fights. I'm very certain that Stephanie Phillips is a Dragon Ball Z fan, because there are some very Dragon Ball Z-esque fights in here. Like, you get her fighting the Black Order, you've got her in a one-on-one with Gore, and that Gore versus Phoenix fight, when I saw the preview of that, this was like, when I saw the previews for this book before it came out in trade, the biggest one that really made me go, oh my god, I have to read this, is when she not only was going to show that she was fighting the Black Order, but also she was going to go 1v1 with Gore, the God Butcher, which I don't know how he's returned, but again, it's comics, it don't fucking matter. And so the fight between her and Gore, while it's only an issue and a half, it's kind of awesome. I wish it went a little longer, but Gore kind of gets put as a jobber, and Jean, it just kind of shows how powerful Jean is if she can just take out Gore, the God Butcher, in 0.5, do something that it took Thor his entire lifetime to do. With Carol if Jean tells Thor this, he's just going to be like, verily, I need to go sit in the corner and think about thy life. Anyway, and we are very much on a collision course with Thanos. So Pyrrhus is kind of setting up things. It's also very clear that Pyrrhus is taking over the Cosmic Council, like he's manipulating Gladiator. It's very obvious from the start, okay, Gladiator's under Pyrrhus's control or something. And yeah, Jean and Thanos are on a collision course. I'm also hoping we get a Galactus Phoenix fight, because I have seen that before, but I'd love to see it again. But yeah, this comic, I can't tell you how awesome this book is. Like, there is no way, ifs, ands, or buts about it. This comic is awesome. Like I said, it's my favorite of the X-Men Up from the Ashes stories, comics I've read so far. So yeah, and not to say like I loved X-Men and Uncanny X-Men. Both McKay and Simone's X-Men comics were awesome, and I'm sure the other ones are going to be good too. But yeah, this is kind of the leader right now. This was an awesome book. It's a great story of like a woman like, does Jean have what it like? Can Jean be a god and still be human? And can she find redemption in a galaxy that just essentially just wants to see her fucking die? Yeah, and also the fights are awesome. So yeah, Chris, thank you once again for this comic. This was awesome. And yeah, if I highly recommend Phoenix or the Phoenix book, go check it out. But yeah, so if you have read Phoenix Orbital Resonance, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of it. Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the multiverse.